Hey everyone, and welcome to the Retro Channel and to part 3 of the Super Nintendo repairathon. So in the previous couple of parts, I got stuck with the clock issue on these SHVC boards and some issues with the FX Pack Pro or the SD to SNES. They've all been dealt with, so all 5 of these boards over here are now fully functional. I've also recapped all of them and installed my digital audio mod. The only thing left is to find some nice cases for these. Obviously with all these boards I also have the cases for them, but a lot of them are in various states of yellowing, and I want to find out which boards I can actually get working first before I worry about finding decent cases for them. So these ones are all good. These ones are the ones we still need to deal with, and dare I say they're not going to suffer from that same clock issue, although I probably will do the clock fix on all these boards as well, just to rule that out. But dare I say we're going to need to do some chip swapping, and that could have also happened on all these boards if I didn't find out about that clock issue. It seems the first revision of PPU1 is most susceptible to this clock problem, and if I had swapped PPU1 on these boards for a later revision PPU1, that might have just fixed the issue with these, and then I would have thought that, you know, I had a bunch of bad PPU1s. So I'm glad I found out about that, and I've also added some info on that to the console mods wiki. So if you run into this issue, take a look there, and there's pretty simple instructions on how to fix it. Anyway, enough about that, let's get into these boards, and I think we'll start with this one here, which we saw in the last video had issues with Mode 7, so let's start with this guy. Right, here's our board that had the Mode 7 issues, and yeah, that did show up in Super Mario Kart and also with the burn-in test cartridge, both of which I'd highly recommend if you're trying to diagnose Super Nintendos. Super Mario Kart seems to show up a lot of issues if there's a fault with the board, and of course the burn-in cartridge can tell you a little bit more detail, but not always. According to this, all the tests passed, but once it actually did the graphical tests, that's where we spotted the issue with Mode 7. So I'd still highly recommend picking up one of these if you're diagnosing Super Nintendos, and I'll put a link to where you can find it in the video description. Another great resource is one online, which was a repair log by somebody who was fixing a bunch of Super Nintendo boards. I think they were actually working on arcade-style machines, kind of like the PlayChoice 10 with the NES, but obviously ones with a Super NES inside. There is also an official service manual out there that somebody pointed me towards. Looks like it was published by, I think it's Playtronics or something. I think it's the same people who kept releasing the Sega Master System in Brazil. I think they're still actually making those. But obviously it is all in Portuguese, but I have started translating that service manual, so hopefully we'll have a somewhat accurate English version of it soon enough, but I am relying on Google Translate for that. So here's part of the manual that I have already translated, and yeah, the first part is just a table of suspect ICs based on what failures you'll get on the burn-in cartridge. So if work RAM fails, then suspect CPU. If that doesn't fix it, go to work RAM. But as we didn't get any failures during these tests, that's not going to help us here. But if we scroll down a little bit further, defective screen color, no, what did we get? I guess the closest one for us would be mosaic screen, defective characters. Again, this is all relying on Google Translate, but it does say swap in sequence, PPU1, PPU2, CPU, VRAM. So yeah, that also seems to point towards PPU1 being the most likely culprit, so I think we're going to start there. In my spares, I've got a CPU, no PPUs though, so might have to rely on some of these parts boards. Well, these two are already out. This one does have all 3 chips. This is actually from the same batch as the rest of the boards, but I can see that work's already been done to it, so I think I'd rather use this to salvage parts, although I don't know if I've actually tested it. Maybe we should do that first. So let's just see if this thing actually works, although I somewhat doubt it. Oh, we've got a power light. We've got something on screen. Maybe this won't be a donor board. Let's try the burn-in test. I don't want to run this for too long because I don't have a heatsink on that voltage regulator, but oh, it just reset back to the start. It's weird. My finger's going to be the heatsink. Now we've got nothing. Right, so it makes it most of the way through and then jumps back to the start screen. That's not right. Okay, well it seems this board kind of works, but there's obviously still a fault there somewhere. And EverDrive just gives us a black screen. Final Fantasy VI appears to work though. Oh, and something attacked me. Oh. Okay, we're not going to go into battle, we're just going to keep playing the background music. That kind of seems like a more logical fault, so perhaps a bad CPU. Could be just about anything, but I'm hoping it's not PPU 1. Let's get that off the board. In fact, I do have a spare CPU. What I might do is throw this CPU on this board, see if that solves the problem, and then I'll know that I've got a board full of good chips that I can salvage later on. Let's do that. So I'll be using hot air to get this off, but before we do anything, I'm just going to add some extra flux. I don't trust that old stuff to do us any good by this point, so fresh flux, just all around these legs. So this is where things will get a bit noisy. Hot air station is set at 350 degrees Celsius with an 80% fan speed. And of course we need a little extraction fan as well because I don't really want to breathe in all those flux fumes. Here we go. It's a hot chip. Alright, that is off. I actually bumped the heat up to 370, but yeah, chip removed. I'm just going to clean this up and then we'll put a new CPU on. So I might try and hand solder the replacement on, so we need to remove this old solder from the board. And this is where we'll need the microscope, I think. So let's see if a replacement CPU fixed that problem. Here we go. Well, it still starts up. That's always nice. Is it going to keep going? Yes. Cool, and I think the rest of the test looked just fine. Let's see if the EverDrive works. Oh, no it does not. So there's something else wrong with this board. Oh dear. Well, at least we go into battles now. There's only so long I can keep that voltage regulator cool with my fingers. But no EverDrive. Just quickly swap over the sound module just in case. Doubt that's going to change anything. Nope. Swap over a cartridge port. Ah. Bad cartridge port, probably. It looks fine, but yeah, maybe just, yeah, there's a little bit of crap in there. Give this a little cleaning. Yeah. Does that upside down? Yeah, so these have a little black plastic piece in the middle of them, and it looks like the dodgy one that is sitting up a little bit higher. Let's see if we can get that out. Oh, and there is a it's like a tiny bit of, you know, an offcut or something from a pin in there. That wouldn't be good for it. All right, that seems better. They both look to be roughly the same height. Let's try this one again. I better go over this part. Toothbrush might be better for this. And maybe these. All right, let's see how this goes. Perfect. Just a dodgy cartridge port and a dodgy CPU. I think that is all our issues solved, and now this is a fully working parts board. Better do the Super Mario Kart test though. everything is looking good. I think we're safe to salvage parts off this now. So at least I know I've got a good source of spare parts here. Let's get the PPU-1 off this board. Probably should just put a tick on everything so I remember. I'm guessing that's okay, that should be okay, that should be okay. Alright, PPU-1. Oh, and in case you're worried about this connector, no, I didn't damage it. It's fine. Here we go. Nothing. Why nothing? Ah, cartridge port. Okay, burn-in test still passes, so that's good. Are we gonna have good mode 7? It's looking good. Perfect. Do a couple more quick tests. My old favorite. Ah, much better. I can see the track this time. I think that's a winner. This one is fixed. So, bad PPU-1. The viewers were right. So we know that this CPU is definitely bad. That's the one that came off this board, and I swapped on a working CPU. And we know that PPU-1 from the board that we just tested was also bad, and the one from this board was good. So there we go. So far we're up to a bad CPU and a bad PPU, but I'm sure there's plenty more where that came from. Let's head straight into this one. My notes say, wouldn't boot, found bad vias, now boots but gets upset with controller. So I think there were some bad vias under here, which looks like I've fixed. So let's see what this upset with controller means. Put a cartridge in. I really got to clean the contacts on this thing, I think. Oh, whoa. I'm not even doing anything. Calm down. Can't even reset. Just jumps straight into the controller test and goes crazy. So I think that's probably going to be a CPU issue because that's what handles all the controller inputs. So I think we just jump straight in and swap out the CPU. And of course we know the CPU that I just put onto this board actually works. So it's going on to yet another board, I guess. All right. Ooh, colors are screwed up. Ah, bad connection. Well, it's not jumping straight to the controller test, so that's a good sign. Yeah, still got a color problem. Oh, I think it's my dodgy cable. It is kind of falling apart. Yeah, it's just my dodgy cable. Everything else works. Ooh, but we have multiply 16 by 8 fail. That's not good. So you'd think that'd be handled by the CPU as well, but that error didn't come up on the other board when we had this CPU on it, so yeah. Let's have a look back at this service manual. Multiply 16 by 8. Ooh. Main suspect is actually PPU1. Definitely the CPU that was on this board was bad, but yeah, possibly PPU1 that's on this board is also bad. Well, out of curiosity, let's try the EverDrive. It still boots up. I mean, it looks fine. Let's try the good old Super Mario Kart. Surely this will show us some kind of issue. Surely. Oh yes, there we go. It's a messy track, but kind of drivable. It's a little bit harder. Shell and no one to use it. Okay, well, anyway, the game itself appears to be just fine. I mean, we obviously can't see the track properly, but it's not crashing or anything. So that does suggest that it's going to be one of the PPUs, and well, we know it's not the CPU, so I would suspect PPU1 in this case. Means I need to find another PPU1 to steal. And the problem with it being PPU1 is I don't have another PPU1. Not yet. So I think what we'll do is we'll put a little X on this guy, so I'm pretty sure that's going to be the problem. And we'll see if we can find a board with a bad CPU or a PPU2 and try and make a good one out of both of them. Let's put this one aside for now. Alright, I think this board might be a good one to steal PPU1 from. According to my notes, it says runs burn-in test when Superscope test is selected. work RAM fail, VRAM fail. I somehow doubt that both the work RAM and the VRAM have failed. It's probably more likely that the CPU is bad, and therefore the PPU1 will hopefully be good. Let's have a look, see what it actually does. Right, it starts up okay. So if we go to Superscope test, it does indeed go to burn-in test, but it's got a green background. Oh, work RAM, fail. And it quickly flashed up with what I guess was VRAM fail. And trying to go to controller test doesn't work properly at all. And if we go to burn-in test, it does go to burn-in test, but again, we've got that green background. And yeah, work RAM and VRAM fail, and then it just goes to a black screen. So yeah, that does seem more like the CPU than the actual RAM ICs. So yeah, let's take PPU1 off this, and I'm going to assume that the CPU is bad. Maybe we'll just throw a little question mark on that. Probably bad. Any memory error? So it seems the little micro SD card that's in my microscope has died. I can't even access it, which means I may have just lost all the footage that I shot previously for this video with that microscope. Fuck! Well, that was annoying. I found an SD card. It was a 64GB one, but the microscope only works with FAT32 formats, and Windows doesn't like to format anything over 32GB as FAT32. It still can be done, but I had to get another program in order to format the SD card properly to put it in the microscope. But I think we're now ready to go, and hopefully I won't lose any more footage. So let's get this PPU1 soldered on, and in order to make up for the footage that I just lost where I explained what I was doing previously, I'll explain all that again this time and hope that we actually get the proper footage. So here's our PPU1. Obviously it's not soldered on yet, and the main thing I'm trying to do here is just to get the alignment spot on, because if it's just slightly off, it'll make soldering a nightmare. You'll end up with bridges all over the place. So it's very important to get the alignment just right before you do anything else. All right, that's pretty close. Not quite perfect, but good enough to tack in one corner. And as soon as I did that, I lost the good alignment. Right, our alignment's looking good. I'm just going to tack in a couple of the opposite corners. And with that all in place, I'm going to bring in some liquid flux and just start soldering all these pins. You can tell when the flux has been spent because you get all those sort of stringy solder bits. There's probably a little bit too much solder here, but that'll come off in the wash. Or on my iron, if I'm lucky. Need more flux there. Right. That should be good. See, there's plenty of solder on this corner pin, so I should be able to drag that out to some of the other pins. I'll go one more time just to be sure. And there's a bridge. It's fine, we'll get that. That's the CPU. I've already done that one. Should be able to drag some of this solder out from here as well. Maybe. A little bit, but probably not enough. Get some from this corner. And our flux is gone. Need just a touch more solder in here. Just like that. Come here. Work with me. Just to be sure. Very nice. And after a bit of a clean, we can see if there's any bridges. And no, I don't see any there. Yeah, I'd say that's looking good. Just do a quick check to make sure none of these pins move out of the way. They all seem solid. That side's good. I'd say that's good. And that's good. All right, that is done. Now, hopefully I won't lose that footage. Power on. And we've got nothing. Oh, this cable is certainly bad. All right, nobody move. Now, what did we have? MPY 16.8 failed last time. And it didn't fail this time. That is a good sign. Alright, burn-in test looked good. Let's check out Super Mario Kart, make sure that also looks good. You just never know. Ah, much better. We have a proper track now. Yep, that all seems good. I'm happy with that. Right, so we've managed to resurrect 2 boards. Of course, that wouldn't be possible without some donor boards, but well, hopefully we've still got a good PPU2 on this one. Don't think that CPU is going to work somehow. I guess if I get desperate, I'll take it off and stick it on a different board, but yeah, I think that's going to be bad. Let's check out one more board. So this one says kanji with burn-in. Interesting. Yeah, I looked at these over a year ago, so my notes are somewhat vague, as is my memory. Right, well, it powers on. Looks like English to me, but... Oh. Ah. Yeah, okay. So it looks like there's a few fails in there, although we can only sort of read one of them. Let's just try that again. Ah, VRAM high fail. I think for the VRAM, it'll either say VRAM high fail or VRAM low fail, but it'll report all that on the same line. So it looks like, yeah, VRAM high fail, whatever is in the 8th position, the 10th and the 13th. Let's go back to that service manual, see what's there. All right, so yeah, there we go, VRAM high. So that's on the 4th position in this little table, but yeah, these two, VRAM low and high, both appear on the same line in the burn-in test. So that's number 3, and that points to possibly PPU1, CPU, one of the SRAMs, or PPU2 as the failure point. So the 8th line, so DMA memory would be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is MPY 16 by 8. And that's pointing again towards PPU1 or CPU, with PPU1 being more likely. DMA, CPU, PPU1, I think we can rule out it being PPU2 at this point. And HV timer, CPU, PPU2, PPU1. So for 2 of them, it's more likely to be the CPU, but for the other 2, it's more likely to be PPU1. Graphical corruption makes me think PPU1, which is kind of inconvenient because quickly running out of those, but could also be the CPU. I don't know. I think we should leave this video here. Put your thoughts in the comments if you have any ideas, and we'll pick this up again next time. There are still 1, 2, 3, I think there's 4 boards left. Hopefully we can get most of them working, but at this point, if they're all going to be PPU1s, we might run out of boards pretty quickly. Anyway, that is it for this one. Thank you all for watching. Huge thanks to the people that support the channel on Patreon. If you want to do the same, links to that are down below. You'll get ad-free early access to all videos. And yeah, thank you all for watching. Catch you next time. Bye. I better update my notes before I forget. These 2 are fixed. Oh, yes, so as a quick recap, we had 2 bad CPUs, 2 bad PPU1s is where we're up to.